This is Profesh Sesh. Today, I'm talking with team lead Julian Hyams. Julian, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Catherine.
Well, that's my pleasure. So, for people who don't know, tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got into real estate.
Okay, so I am Julian Hyams. I am the team lead of Hyams Real Estate Group, and I got my real estate license back in 2019, so not too long ago. Started the team just a short 2 years ago, roughly, and I got into real estate originally because I was actually a past house flipper. I was getting into all sorts of home renovations, inhaling lots of dust. I was actually living in the renovation sites myself. And I, one, wanted to change. Two, split up with my business partner, which forced the change on me. And three, I wanted to actually start sourcing the deals myself. And so it all aligned with becoming a real estate agent, and that's how it started.
Was that a scary transition going from doing the renovations and flipping to being the person to sell the home?
Everything was scary. I find myself scared quite often, to be honest. But I mean, getting into really just something completely new was definitely really scary. And you kind of see it as a last resort. And now I see it totally differently. I see it as one of the best decisions that I ever made, actually. So
that's amazing. You turned it into not just a solo career, but responsible for the whole team. Let's talk the origin story of how you went from being a solo agent into team lead.
Okay, cool. So I actually started on teams myself. So I was over at Keller Williams on a team that I think since dissolved, but that's neither here nor there. I then came over to EXP and joined my friend who's here with us now. We actually opened this office together later on. And I found some success on those first two teams. I learned a ton. I was on teams for, I think it was around 2.5 years, being coached myself before taking on a little bit more of a management role on the second team here at EXP. And I just found that I was working a lot. I was doing a lot of transactions, and I was already kind of in a position of mentorship anyway. So I thought, hey, I can do this myself, and it was something that I wanted to do. Really enjoyed hanging out with people, learning from other people, and just collabing. So I'm like, hey, let's start our own team. And that was, I think roughly 2 years ago.
Yeah. I wonder, did it have anything to do with the EXP model too, where everybody kind of mentors each other? Did that kind of spark something in you?
Oh, 100%. I'm really glad that you brought that up. So my team lead at the time, so this was on my when I was on a team with EXP, my team lead, the best part about EXP, it allowed him and incentivized him to actually push me towards fulfilling my own goals, because I'm still within his sponsorship. Right. He's still going to benefit, and let's not kid ourselves. We're, when we get into business, we are doing it for the monetary side, not Absolutely. Completely, but of course. And so he was incentivized on that realm still to fully support me in starting my own team, as well as just the friendship there, really helped as well. So with the EXP model, I'm really glad you said that, because he's benefited majorly, because later on, which we can get to in a bit, is we actually opened this office together, and now we collab and all sorts of stuff. We both have our own respective teams that hang out, and Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what some brokerages are lacking a little bit with that, the mentorship and the guidance that other new agents, especially, or agents that have been struggling to get past a threshold, they don't provide that. Whereas here in EXP, because it is structured that way, you get that kind of follow through with the mentorship program, that when they promise it, they actually deliver on it. Yeah, and I think the really beautiful thing about EXP is it actually puts ownership into the hands of the individual agents, as opposed to just being one top broker at the top that owns the whole brokerage and gets all of the dividends from that. Right. It's dispersed. And I think that that's severely beneficial in retention And like I just mentioned, with me starting my own team, I got incredible support to go off and do that that I wouldn't have had if I wasn't a part of this company.
Right, right. Okay, what are the most integral parts of operating the team? What's crucial? What was crucial in the beginning and
Yeah.
all the way up to present?
So it changed as we progressed, but I would say like at the beginning you have to discover essentially where your business is going to come from. So you look at your own lead generation, how have you gotten your own leads, and how are you going to have enough leads, enough business to support a team. So figuring out, okay, what works generally for teams in your market. A lot of that points to online lead generation. You have to figure out where you're going to get those online leads. What are you going to pay for those? Which company you're going to use, and then your operating systems like your CRM, your customer relationship manager. Which one are you going to use? And that obviously progressed. We have swapped up a handful of times and sometimes painfully, but in the end, you're constantly trying to get better. So at the beginning, to simplify it, it's basically figuring out where's the business going to come from and how are we going to organize and categorize that business so that it can be passed on to the agents respectfully and smoothly.
So research, a little bit of trial and error,
A lot of trial and error.
making some corrections along the way. Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. So tell me, from your experience so far,
Yeah.
what do you find does not work on a team?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good one. So what doesn't work on a team is like a crappy attitude. And when I'm saying like crappy attitude, I mean from myself, obviously, and it's hard to show up every day, even though you try, and it's hard to stay positive with yourself and the agents every day, but you generally have to have a decent attitude that's geared towards growth and towards helping these people. It can't just be the attitude of like, I'm here to get rich and off the work of these agents. And so that, as you know, there's teams out there where if the team lead, that team has been started predominantly for purely the benefit of the team lead and solely for the benefit of the team lead, those teams usually don't last. So that's something that I've tried to really keep out of the team environment. And then also something that doesn't work is it's a people business, right? So if you bring on the wrong people with the wrong attitudes, again, like it's going to just decay away at your culture and really have a negative effect.
Yeah, there's probably a bit of pressure involved, like, when you bring on agents, knowing if it's going to be a good fit or
Yeah.
where they might fit in.
And I'd like to think that we as a team have gotten smarter at bringing on the right people. It's always a work in progress, but definitely I've learned so much on what to look for in terms of bringing people with motivation, bringing people with a positive attitude, bringing people that will do what they say they'll do. Obviously, not every day we all make mistakes. I don't even always do everything I say I'll do because we have maybe bigger goals than we're able to achieve in that time. But you learn from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. So what's been the most difficult challenge in getting the team up and running?
Yeah. So quite honestly, the cost, like, I just never really foresaw the expense. I didn't know that it would be as expensive as it is. And when I talk about expense, you have to do a lot of trial and error, like we just kind of touched on.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be investing in software and different devices that were supposed to benefit the team, but you don't necessarily know if they work yet, and you're going off of referrals from other people. And so you end up wasting a lot of money and kind of spinning your tires, and you get faced with these large expenses. So really stomaching that early on, and it does get easier as long as there's business flowing. You get smarter by kind of like trimming the fat, like the crappier companies that you've associated yourself with, getting rid of them if you don't need their services or they don't apply to your team.
Right.
But that's been a huge challenge is expense. Yeah.
I think this is going to be helpful to anybody who's thinking about starting their own team. They can take these notes into consideration and kind of grow from there. I thank you for sharing that.
No, for sure. Yeah, and there's obviously there's other challenges. You just asked what's the most difficult, but there's tons of challenges I'm sure we'll get into. here. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Tons of challenges.
I know. I think that people don't realize because real estate's been glamorized by some of the shows, and I'm guilty as charged. I love seeing the homes in LA and New York and all of the
Yeah.
places.
$10 million sale. Where's my
Right?
check?
Yeah, you're making $500,000 in the commission, but
Yeah.
the average realtor, that's not exactly what happens, and it is a very people-oriented business, and it's a stressful
Totally.
time when people are buying and selling properties. So we deal with a lot more than people, I think, anticipate. And then if you're a team lead, you're also managing all those realtors. So that just adds
Yeah.
an element of...
Yeah. So like, just to touch on that, like as a team lead, you're basically multiplying the problems that you would have normally as a solo agent by the number of agents that you bring on. So you have your own issues with your own clients if you're still trading with clients, which, you know, at first you definitely are. The goal is to kind of take more of a management position. That's usually what the goal is for any team lead. But yeah, when you bring on agents, especially newer agents or even veteran agents, they're going to go through all sorts of stuff just like you did as a solo agent. You're dealing with all of them. So it can be a lot. It can be overwhelming at times for the agents and for yourself as kind of a management position.
Yeah, speaking of that,
Yeah.
brings me to my next slide, leadership. So what would you say your leadership style is, and how do you keep your team motivated in such a competitive industry? I guess we'll start with leadership style.
Okay, so
I'll let you answer that first.
Okay. That's a really good question, Cather. Like it's a hard one because it's evolved. Like a lot of this stuff has evolved for me. It used to be like just I don't know, just kind of like mashing our way through it. Like this, just do what we say today. You know, what I noticed is something that's been a constant is I'm a very sensitive person, and I connect like the strongest with people that are sensitive. And when I say sensitive, I see it as a super positive thing. People with empathy and people that morally, that's their highest, other than obviously the business side of it, you're doing this to make money, to feed your family, whatever, but they are doing this to help people, essentially.
Yeah.
So I noticed, as corny as this sounds, like I noticed I really love people, and I think that, and I've really grown to love my agents. It's taken time, so I saw them a little bit more, but like I've found that my leadership style has been like through respect and compassion and like leaving kind of an open door of like, if you have problems, you're dealing with stuff, like just because this is a business relationship or started as that doesn't mean that I'm not here for you, and we will get through this together. And I think it's paid incredible dividends because we're all going through stuff.
Yeah.
And I've really tried to be there in more ways than one, so that people feel safe and supported. And I think that's been a constant. That's kind of, again, as corny as it sounds, it is a bit of who I am, and I can't really escape that.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, and so keeping that in mind, how do you also keep the team motivated in such a competitive industry where we have so many different personality types who taking on different clients? Like some of your agents are doing rentals, some are doing, sales, more on the buyer end, more on the seller end. How do you keep everyone motivated?
Yeah, so it's kind of a trick question because it's really, what I've discovered is it's really hard to motivate people. If the person isn't already motivated, there's not much you can do other than showing them the writing on the wall. And the writing on the wall is like, here are the market stats. Here's what's working from my experience, or what worked from my experience in the past, and here's what's not working. And here's some businesses, and this is what you should probably do to best qualify that business or that lead. And this is what you shouldn't do. So yeah, like
Helping them with like your experience in the past.
Correct.
Kind of tracking numbers in the current. To
yeah, and
show
trying to
them
stay on
what's
top of the
working.
market and like what's going on. Like we stay informed and we each help each other to stay informed.
Oh, yeah.
And like it's a collective effort of like knowing what the heck is coming down the pipeline in arguably one of the most turbulent times that there's been as a real estate agent and just as a Canadian economy.
Yeah.
So it's been challenging, but like, yeah, we try to just be on top and ahead of stuff as it comes.
Yeah, and like as full-time agents, we can see trends shift because we're meeting every single week and we're talking about the sales and what's sold, what's conditional, new listings hitting the market, seeing those trends and keeping an eye on them, that's like an inside scoop that we as full-time realtors actually get. And so we can share that with the whole team. Some people are going to be busy that week because they've got multiple deals going on, and just being able to touch base in those meetings and share that knowledge.
Yeah, don't worry. Like, I know you had 40 showings this week, but we got you. This is what happened. This is what's coming up with mortgage rates, and like, this is what's going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Staying connected. Okay, so let's see. What is the biggest challenge that you faced as a team lead, and how did you overcome it?
So biggest challenge as a team lead has been exactly what I was just touching on earlier, which is like bringing on people that want to be here. As a team lead, and when you're leading a group of people, the focus is so much on people that you need to bring on the right people. So that's quite simply the biggest challenge, is just like bringing on the right people, not necessarily knowing if they are until you're 3 to 6 to 9 months in, and then knowing how to handle that if it's time to part ways respectfully, and that's never easy. Like it's been taxing. It's taxing sometimes, emotionally for them, for yourself, but just getting better at kind of seeing that upcoming conflict. Yeah. And it's challenging. Yeah. In any industry, for any company, right?
Yeah, I think that they attribute like management and hiring to be some of the number one markers on whether a business is going to be successful.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like the people that are in the seats are what make the company. So like it's just getting the right people, and are you even, I don't want to say smart enough to see if they're the right people, but like you have to know in your mind, like, what's the direction that we actually want to go, and do these people, like, their goals co-align with the direction that we want to go, and the vibes that we want, right? Like,
I saw one of these gurus just the other day talking about how they went to the Four Seasons, and there was this employee there, and it was a barista doing the coffee, and he was all upbeat, and he was like, how's your day going? And he was like, my day was great, and blah, blah, blah. And he just talked about how when he's at work, managers come by, check on how they're doing, does he need any support? And then he mentioned that he also works at another hotel where the managers never come by to check on him, but they only come by to point out if employees are doing something incorrectly.
Right.
And he said, so when I'm over there, I just keep my head down and I do my work and I get out of there and I make my hours. And he's like, so this exact same employee, exact same human being at the Four Seasons, as a customer, you get a completely different experience from that fellow. But if you go to that other hotel where the management is just picking on them and nitpicking rather than building up the employees, you would get a completely different experience from him. He wouldn't greet you. He keeps his head down. He does his work. He leaves.
Right.
So it was really like illuminating, like
the environment is huge.
The environment, the leadership, and all of that. So you've got a big job,
yeah,
big shoes to fill.
And I definitely haven't been perfect. So, and it's something that I'm starting to be aware of, is like, hey, like my energy is really going to affect everything right down to the roots. And like we're such a bigger group now that it's like I need to stay positive. I need to look at problems as they come, as they're not as necessarily as earth-shattering as what people might perceive them as, and that's something that I'm working on every day, and that just comes with maturity. So that is also like, that's been a really big challenge, is like keeping myself in a positive mind frame, even if I'm not feeling it, at least presenting that.
I think
sometimes it's challenging.
I think everybody's human, but overall, if the environment is a place where your staff, employees, teammates, colleagues feel like it's a safe space to open up of what they're facing day to day, and they feel supported, I think that's number one.
Yeah, 100%.
Speaking on that, who are some of your role models?
So that's a really tough one, because again, like I hate saying this, but like it changes, right? Like someone right now, like I read a lot of books. I think like I can expand on that a little bit. Like someone that, it's usually people that are really well read, or someone that they're doing something that I'm jealous of, or like I could do that one day, or whatever. Not necessarily jealous, but I'm inspired by exactly. So some Victor Menashe, who he runs the Oreo, the Ottawa real estate investing organization. I've been listening to his podcast. I'm about a few 100 episodes deep. He does it every day. I'm back in like 2019. I haven't even made it to 2020 yet when the pandemic hit. But he's someone, I've spoken with him several times. We're actually working on a project together outside of that. He's incredible. He's all about the numbers. He's he's a realist. And I don't believe that if you are looking at things in the right light, that even if there's a negative connotation that you're a pessimist, I believe just there's such a thing as being a realist. And I really get a lot from people that aren't chasing the stars every day. I'm not saying don't be inspired and don't dream, because I'm a huge dreamer, but I like people that are grounded, that have fun with that grounding and really analyze what's in front of them. And because it's tangible, they can touch it and they can feel it. And he's like that. He's an engineer background. Ironically, I'm a psychology background, so not related. But he's someone that I'm really looking up to right now. And I will soon, when the time is right, I'm going to approach him to kind of have a session with him. And ironically, I actually was offered a coaching position under him a couple of years ago, and it was $25,000 to be coached by him. And I'm sure the value was there. At the time, I didn't have the money. And so I didn't do it. And I don't regret it, but tons of people did pay it. And I've talked to tons of people that are my age that went with it, and I've opened massive development firms. They've benefited massively from him.
Yeah.
And at the time, it wasn't the right time, but I'm getting there where I'm not saying I would put that money into it, but I'd love some time with him privately. He's an incredible mind, and he really sees the world the way I think it's for what it is.
Yeah, I think that's interesting perspective, because you have to navigate all of these emotions being a team lead. So maybe sitting down with someone like him who's
Correct.
based on the numbers and the facts and the stats and stuff.
Exactly.
It would be really refreshing and a little bit of a mental break.
No, you're so right, Catherine. And you nailed it on the head. I'm actually taking his approach to his businesses, and he has many. And this guy, I mean, we're talking 9 figures rich. Not that it matters, because that's not. You know what his favorite thing to do is, which blew my mind when I found this out, and he talks about it. Sailing. He sails 5-6 months of the year, no engine on the boat, with his wife on a sailboat around where, Europe or some beautiful place. But I mean, we're talking about someone that owns thousands of units and businesses, and but he never leads with that. You have to dig to find out how wealthy this guy is, and just to know, it doesn't matter. But he's very he strips it back just to the basics, and and the things that he really loves are organic, and that's really resonating with me. And so that helps. And then his approach to, you just said, to business is really helping me as a team lead to be because again, emotions are good. They lead us to positive things.
Of course.
But sometimes if they take the reins, you can have some negative consequences. So analyzing things like the numbers, looking at it for a tangible product in a realist kind of point of view has really helped me.
Okay, I know he's a role model. Do you have a mentor that you're kind of talking to these days that kind of helps you navigate these tricky kind of dynamics and being a mentor to so many others? Yeah,
I do. So actually, one of his pupils, I've invested with him, this guy, Mark Amiet, on a building. He is a mentor, and he's actually a mentee of Victor as well, ironically. So Mark has been really helpful. He's about 10, 15 years older than myself. He's at a place in his investment approach to buildings and his family life and stuff where I can take a lot from him. And he's been incredibly supportive. I can call him anytime. He's there for me. Someone else too, my past team lead and friend, Kevin Feely. So to this day, I call him for advice and vice versa. He was my coach and team lead for a while, and I benefited majorly from the advice and the coaching style that he had, which was very different than mine. But that's what I needed.
Yeah.
And then we have this office together. So
I feel like that. Yeah, I feel like that would be the challenge for people stepping out and deciding, okay, I want to be a mentor to somebody, I want to be a team lead, is realizing that when you step into that role, your style might not be for everyone. So if you
Yeah.
like to expand yourself by getting people like Victor and Mark and Kevin who are different styles from your own to help you be more well-rounded. I think that's really important for
So
people
true.
that are like going to embark on that.
So true. Not everyone is going to be your cup of tea.
Right.
Yeah. So try different flavors, as long as there's a lot of things that co-align.
Yeah.
You can't completely disagree with them and everything. That's not going to work. But
Yeah.
some different styles, some things that aren't really the way the view and how you would look at it can really benefit you.
Yeah. Okay, what are you reading these days? You mentioned you were reading some books. What are we reading?
So I'm reading. I'm really horrible with remembering authors' names, but the book is called Fierce Conversations. It was recommended to me by Jennifer Jones, and it's It's an incredible approach to exactly what I'm going through right now as a team lead, with how to essentially confront without being confrontational.
I love that.
And it's really helping me to know that when you take no action because you're scared of hurting someone's feelings, or you take too much action where your emotions get the better of you, there are severe consequences either way. So just methodically and in a controlled environment and an actual almost like scientific approach, having those conversations with your peers and your colleagues and your clients. And it's something I really recommend that I think you would really enjoy.
Yeah.
Female author, she's brilliant, and I'm almost done it. And after I'm done, I'd love to loan it to you because I think you'd really like it.
Oh, good. It sounds like something up my alley.
Yeah. Also, another one. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Reading a few. I'm the kind of guy that just has like 4 books open
All the time.
Yeah.
Some on paper, some in my Audible.
Yeah. ADHD.
Yeah.
Traction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not like the most it's not like reading Lord of the Rings, but it's really good for anyone that wants to run a somewhat larger business. We're just at kind of like the cut end of this book has been applied to some massive, hundreds of employees, companies.
Oh wow.
But the model works. The Traction EOS, it's called, model works. And actually, Steph, my operations girl, and I got her a copy. I drove it to her, and we're both reading it at the same time. So
That's going to be interesting. There's stuff on the screen. Okay.
yeah.
So
There she
building.
is, teaching.
I know.
A
Teaching us.
whiteboard. There's nothing written, Steph.
I should have.
You didn't write anything.
I think she's CGI'd it. You know her.
Yeah.
She's a techie.
Yeah,
girl.
she knows that stuff.
So what do you look for when you are recruiting agents to join the team?
Okay, gonna get redundant, but it's a really good question, and so I'll just answer it anyway. Good attitude, drive, fire. That's what I mean by drive. Bit of urgency. What's their why? And you can get that in people that are young, they don't necessarily know where they're going to be going. I certainly didn't in my early, even mid 20s, late 20s. I don't even know in certain ways.
Yeah.
But you need to see some fire, and a positive attitude, and someone that's willing to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves.
Yeah. How do you nurture their growth? What are you doing nowadays?
Yeah, touch points, being available for them when they need all forms of support. Not always, though. I've started to kind of pull back a bit in being readily available all the time, because then they're not learning as much as they can by having to solve the problems themselves. So, but still being available. If the agent is in a negotiation, there's things that they don't understand. A lot of new agents go through. Just being available, and then I now try to help them solve the problem themselves as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it, because I feel like we can all get caught up with I just want the answer now. But then are you going to learn and grow so that next time you don't need to come to somebody else, you have that in your repertoire or
100% in your tool belt.
Yeah.
You're getting super stressed on those moments. You might impulsively I just want the answer. But then it's afterwards, how do we even get that done?
Right.
What did I learn from that, right? You want to solve it yourself, but just knowing that there's someone strong, a strong agent that's there in case you're hey, I'm literally at a wall. What do we do here? I didn't think the listing agent was going to tell me to go F myself. What do I do? right?
I definitely have had moments where I just want the answer right now, and then
Yeah, me too.
and I think about it, and it's like, oh wow, I came to that conclusion myself. I need to
Yeah.
try to rely on the tool, like the past, my past deals, and
Yeah.
or conversations with you or team meetings, and kind of try to fumble through it a little
It's
bit.
getting that confidence through repetition because like you're a really good agent, but it's just like letting yourself realize that, like just trusting, like, hey,
Yeah.
you got this, Kat.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that takes time for everyone, though. Like again, like I used to call Kev sometimes. I'd be in like multiple offer negotiations. I call him 8 times. And it's like by the 7th call, you can tell like the tonality has changed. Like, yeah, bro, I told you. And it's like, yeah, but sometimes it's good to just kind of take off the training wheels of yourself
I know.
and just, yeah.
You're just like, when you're dealing with the large assets, I think that's
Oh,
the
it's
worry,
intimidating.
right? It
Scared of the
can,
money.
in those moments where
Yeah.
you're like, and it's not even my money,
Yeah.
it's someone else's.
Yeah.
I have to be very careful and tread very lightly. But yeah, coming up with that like gumption to say, no, I got this, my training, my experience, and if you really do need the support, then you can.
And and that's exactly like we call this job like we're a real estate agent, but like what are we really? We're basically 12 jobs in one. We're an accountant, we're a therapist, we're a negotiator, we're a home inspector. We're like there's
Yeah.
so many things to know.
Advisor.
Yeah, it's massive. Like it's so we do need a number of sources of mentorship and answers.
Yeah.
And sometimes stuff happens really fast. So you can't beat yourself up for that if you don't know the answer and like you're sourcing it. But yeah, we also need to learn, agents need to learn to stay calm. And if I'm always like, just like, this is what you got to do, and you're like moving them like puppets,
Yeah.
then they're not going to learn. And that problem isn't actually solved the next time they get into it. They don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a mentorship if you're just giving them the answers. You want them to be able to guide them there, but that they come up with that kind of for themselves.
And it's really not respectful to the agents as a team lead because you're pretty much just using them. Like you're not actually helping. You're just using them to get a negotiation closed, and you're causing yourself, issues later because they don't know how to do it.
Right. Yeah. That's a slippery, like a hard line to tread.
It is
Balancing act.
because you want to get it done successfully, but it's like here's the fish, or teaching them how to do it, how to fish themselves.
I love that. Okay, so we're reading books. We have a mentor. Where else do you get your inspiration from?
That's
What gets the old fire going? What turns the furnace on?
So I mean, inspiration wise, like I want a family. Like I really have wrapped my head around that as much as it scares me. I want kids. And it's something that I'm really starting to envision the most I have in my life, and I'm getting older. And so inspiration is coming now from like looking at something that's bigger than just what it started as when I got my real estate license, which was like a means to an end, like just to pay the bills and to like buy investment properties and we're going to get rich. It's like, there's bigger than that. And again, that might sound cliche, but it's so true. And I'm finally realizing that. So it's my family and the future of my family and being there for them and them being involved. It's starting to give me a lot of, not starting, it's been giving me a lot of inspiration.
Yeah, I think that's also why I got into real estate, because I wanted to be able to drop my kids off to school and pick them up. And if they need me or if they're sick, I wasn't going to get fired from a job, because when your kids first go into school, like, good luck with that. They're sick constantly. You have to come pick them up constantly. And so someone has to be there. And if I was in a regular 9 to 5, it would be virtually impossible for me. There was times when I was like, thank God, I'm a realtor and I work for myself. And I mean, I have really great clients that understand.
Catherine, you're a superhero. Like, no, like honestly, like we started at very different times in our lives and what we were dealing with. And like, as a mother of 2 beautiful kids, like, I just want to say, like, you're a superhero, like what you're doing for your clients, and like, you crush it in that industry. And then as being such an incredible mother, like, no, like you are, this is freaking corny, but like, you are an inspiration for me. Seriously.
Well, thank you. You'll know soon enough, because it'll be you when Morgan's back to work. It'll be you picking the
Yeah.
kids up when they're vomiting everywhere. Yay! Oh gosh. Okay, so let's see. What do you think sets your team apart in the Ottawa real estate market? This is a
Yeah, I think first thing that comes to my mind is like, we're a group of helpers. Like, we really love, like, the individuals, like you, myself, some other names on this team for sure, like most of the team, like we really get off on helping people. We love just like solving people's problems. It's not, I think we've been a little bit sometimes off on what is our actual direction, our message sometimes, like with some of our video footage. And I think it's a really good point. This is something I want to focus more on in 2025, which is us.
yeah.
And us, we love getting out there and actually solving people's problems, coaching them and guiding them to a better life.
Yeah.
And that's genuinely what we love. And that's who agents such as yourself that I get along with the most. And I think we need more of those people.
Yeah, you know what I loved when Jen came in and talked to our group?
Oh my God.
And we were
Yeah.
kind of all sharing our stories, and she brought up like, there are some wolves in sheep's clothing out there, guys. Like,
Yeah.
make sure you're tracking your numbers to know what works for you so that you can help the most amount of people, because there are people in every industry. This is not just real estate.
Yeah.
Every industry, there's always going to be people that don't take the same level of care, consideration for their clients. And it's like, make sure you know what works for you, track those numbers so you can help more people, so that you can really steer them in the right direction, away from those people that are going to be careless and sloppy and stuff. And that really resonated with me, because I always the same. I thought out of our team, we're all helpers. We're people.
Yeah.
There's multiple people on our team, all of them, and they all like come from that foundation of, I want to help our clients get
Yeah.
into the right property, the right home, or sell, whatever their goals are, the right goals for them. And I loved when she said that.
Like, yeah, and of course, like let's get paid, but like let's build some incredible relationships. Like, let's build some lifelong, lasting relationships with our clients where we can help them and we can just be their support. And I think we love that for some reason. Like,
Well, I feel like right now, in the time that we're especially here in Ontario,
Yeah.
where the home values are so high,
yeah, so
it's
high.
like, it's not like it was 10 years ago, where it was just like, it's a couple $100,000. It's not that big. Like, I'm not half or more than half of my wages are going to paying for my home. Now it's a crucial decision for families to make, to invest in those properties, because your monthly income, most of it's going towards that mortgage, or it could be a rental.
Yeah.
Like, rent is not cheap now, and mortgages are not cheap now. So the stakes are much higher. And so for us to be able to be in a position to be full-time, to be knowledgeable, and to be able to help them, advise them what the best assets are, it's a big responsibility. But you do get a lot of fulfillment out of it.
People need help more than they've ever needed.
Yeah.
And if we can be the ones that guide them to that help and actually guide them through making the right conscious decisions in like you just mentioned, a really tough market, then I love that.
Yeah.
And I think if we lead with that, as we do, that's us. And I think that'll further strengthen our relationships with our clients. Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, let's see. Balancing innovation and tradition. How do you balance using modern technology and traditional approaches in real estate to get the best results? We're in a new market these days.
Yeah. So modern technology. Oh my God. I just thought of Prop TX and you said that. I didn't even want to talk about that.
Don't cry.
Yeah. So something that we just started that like needs a lot of the kinks worked out in it, but we've dabbled, well, not just dabbled, we've invested majorly into AI. Now, AI, like, it sounds fancy schmancy, but essentially we have to service our clients, and there's a lot of them. And so we've integrated AI systems to further better be there for them, and to we use them to set up appointments, the AI systems to set up appointments. AI is something that's here to stay. It's something that's going to get smarter, more expansive, and more just integrated into society. So we need to be ahead of that. there's a lot of like issues at this point with it because it's very early on. It's not perfect. Maybe it never will be perfect. Hopefully not, because that'd be scary, like Terminator or something. But yeah, we're dabbling in that, as you know, big time. And then we're trying to use cutting edge CRM technology and lead generation. So to be more specific, we use Agent Locator for lead generation. There's many different ways to lead generate with online leads. Through, I would argue, Google's the best.
Yeah.
We use Agent Locator because it's Canadian.
Yeah.
So it's saying there's an OU in favorite as opposed to our last company. We literally had our last company did a Facebook campaign for us, and I saw it after it was already posted, and there was like little American flags in it, like the emojis.
Yeah.
I was like, no more of that. So we use that, and then we use Follow Up Boss for our CRM, our customer relationship manager. And it's an incredible. I really like it.
Yeah, it is really.
Plus, I mean, this freaking podcast studio this is ours.
This is pretty cool, I have to say.
This is incredible, yeah.
This is a really great venue for us to really talk to clients and bring value.
Yeah.
We get lawyers in here, mortgage professionals, investors. We get people in here talking, giving up the information that's free.
Yeah, you've had some incredible guests.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start like actually tuning in on a regular basis because you've had some pretty cool people in here.
Yeah.
Keep that going.
I know. It's actually really exciting because it's just something that we can do to give back. You know, I really appreciate the clients that choose us. It's a big responsibility, and just giving back that little nugget of information for their second time go round, anything that we can do.
People love it.
Yeah, good. Okay, so we kind of touched a little bit on navigating tough deals, but, you know, can you give us...
Ooh.
Yeah, for anybody who's considering, you know, starting their team... How are you navigating the tough deals? How are you getting those agents over those humps?
Knowledge. Having a really knowledgeable group where we can share each other's knowledge. And there's been a handful of times as of late where I've come to you, I'm asking you for your opinion on a few things. And there's not enough time in the day for us all to know frickin' everything and actually make money and close deals. So the collective knowledge of the team, going to webinars that are provided, you know, when we shift in our software systems that our board uses, for example, we need to know how to use it. And so the collective knowledge of everyone.
Yeah, and we're really blessed here at our office. We've got a lot of large teams with a lot of experience too, and they give it up readily. Thank God for that.
Yeah, so touching on the EXP model again, our upline, so the people that are our direct sponsors above us, they're all in this office, at least the Canadian ones. So it's like 4 or 5 gentlemen that we can literally go knock on their door, say hello, like what, you know, have you seen this before? A lot of the time they have.
Yeah.
Couple of vets that have been doing this for a really long time and have had a lot of success and done a lot of deals. So yeah, that's been really beneficial.
The group chat.
The group chat, yeah. The office, even though there's no one in the office right now because it's Christmas time.
Just us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, can you share a memorable or challenging real estate transaction and how you handled it? You've had some doozies.
Oh my Lord. Okay.
67 offers or something.
There's been some really crazy ones. Yeah, that one was insane. One that, oh man, there's one she's not gonna be watching this, and she wouldn't care.
Don't tell anybody's name.
Yeah. So I had one where it was a separation. Okay, the separation had happened. They're still living in the same house though, and he actually had removed his name from title the last round on remortgaging, so years before, and she wanted to sell, get the heck out, because this guy was like
a lot.
Yeah, like abusive. And this poor thing, she was like, I've got to get out of the situation. We've got to sell. So it involved 4 different lawyers to get this rolling. And at first, it took me a couple of months to even get agents in for showings. So this guy would never leave the house. He was unemployed, the ex. And he actually, when we first installed our sign, he actually physically ripped out, and these are like substantial, solid wood
Not
signs.
easy to tear out.
This
went
guy,
Hulk.
this son of a gun, he took it upon himself. Doesn't leave the house, but he did that day, and he ripped it out. And I never saw the signpost and sign again. Plus, just like yelling at agents that would show up at the house. We had to give 48 hours notice on showings. He would still like yell. So
People a hard time.
that was a buy and sell as well for her, because we had to find her another house too. And yeah, so it involved a lot of lawyers.
Patience.
I think I still have a voicemail from him threatening my life. I don't. Yeah, if you've never had your life threatened
Are you a
by a
realtor?
client, are you a realtor? If you've never been sworn at and cursed at multiple times, you're not a realtor.
Oh God.
Yeah, there's many, many more that I'm glad are over, but that's a happy ending in the end. Like, not necessarily for him, because
You got her out of the situation.
yeah, and I mean, I've done several more, like 3 other transactions with her and her family. And her son actually was, he's our plumber now. The son is our plumber for like all of our other stuff. So really,
Listen, separations are tricky.
yeah,
But the one
Really
thing
tricky.
you're
Yeah.
really good at is you're good at the warmth and the empathy and keeping a cool head in those stressful situations.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we try, right? And like, that's a lot of the time, that's all people need. I mean, they need that actual guidance through the transaction, but they just need like someone to care and be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think we've talked a lot about the importance of the support that we get
Yeah.
here at EXP. It's just, it's outstanding,
well,
really.
and I mean, like, there's, just to touch on it anyway, like you don't necessarily have to be on a team, paying like a team split to get support from EXP. Like, we've got a lot of people here that are solo, and I know it's been a tough couple of years for everyone. But EXP does offer a lot. I mean, one, we have this office, like, there's no desk fees.
Yeah.
You can come and be in this office. You get a CRM and KV Core. You get a website where you can somewhat edit the back end of that to look how you want.
Yeah.
EXP offers a lot. There's a lot of online training.
Now they added Canva.
Yeah, that's true. Canva Pro.
they
That's
added
why we
Canva.
have this.
Yeah, just to give perspective, KV Core as a solo agent, not with, this brokerage, it's like $7.99 a month.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
It's really expensive to take on because it has all of those aspects of like the CRM and the call recording and the website and the landing page and
There's
all of
even
the things
lead
you can design.
generation through
Yeah, and there's
Facebook or
lead
something.
gen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk numbers a little bit because we got to, housing affordability. So like, what are we saying the average, give or take, the average price of single family homes are in Ottawa right now?
I think we're floating around, like, the average of all price categories. I think we're around, for freehold, like 7 something, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
always
think
hovering
so.
around there.
It's hovering around there. I feel like if you're like a detached, you're in and around there. If you're a town home, you're slightly less.
So, and like, I know probably should know what's the average sale price of a freehold home, but I look at it as in what you just said and the different categories of the different products. Ask me, like, if you're looking for a 3-story 2-bed, you're around $500K, the freehold with no backyard and a garage but no basement. If you're looking at it with 3 beds, you're floating up to around $530, $540, depending on your build, of course. If you're looking at a 2-story townhouse that's more recently built within the last 5 years, you're $650, $700K, and a little bit above if you're at an end unit. You hit the 90s, you hit the 80s, you're, high 5s for a townhouse, mid 5s. And then singles have actually dropped, well, really depends. Like, the great big, 2-car garage built in the last 5-year singles that were hitting, they're all in the millions stuff, they've dropped more. So what I would say is and I know you've seen this as well, like, anything under like 6 or 7 is kind of like increasing, and anything over like $1 million is kind of just sitting there, and unless it's priced incredibly,
Yeah, unless you got some acreage attached to that or something.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So like, we're talking like household income, you want to be around 150 to 200 really.
For like a standard, for the average house, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, and the mortgage rates are coming down, but I mean that's really just helping people on the variable, which is still significantly higher than the fixed anyway.
Yeah.
It's all trending down. Like we'll see, but we'll see a way bigger change as the fixed rate comes down and more like
Yeah.
the 3% in front
We
of it.
we gotta hope and pray that that happens.
It will. It will. It definitely will. It takes time.
It takes time.
It does take time because the fixed rates, it's more baked into like the rate cuts that happen at the BOC level. The fixed rate is already kind of dropped in preparation for that anyway. Really, all that it affects when those rate cuts happen, like on the day, it's the variable rate that comes down. If it's already at 5.5, yeah, okay, it comes down to whatever, but it's still like a better option to go with a fixed mortgage
Yeah.
right now. Whereas before 2021, 2022, and before that, the variable rate was lower.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why everyone went variable, and that's why a lot of crappy things happened.
I know, it's so true. Okay, what do you think about Bill 23? Is it going to make things more affordable? Are you looking forward to some of these changes, or do you think it's going to be really dependent on the person?
I think it's going to be. People still have to be able to buy houses. They have to be able to renovate houses. They have to be able to. I could rant. I'm more interested. Like, what do you think? You put that in there for a reason. I know you.
So I'm looking forward to some gentle density in Ottawa, to be honest. I think that with the home prices, it makes it really challenging when all of your money that you make at your job goes to living.
Right.
Because tourism is a real thing. Like, are people going to be able in the next few years to take their your family on vacation? That's really important to me, to be able to go off. I'm
Me
from
too.
Nova Scotia, right? So I want to be going there once a year, and I'd like to see other places with my kids too. So if everything I make is going to the cost of living, it makes it a little bit trying. So I like that we're going to be able to add some density. I would like to see Ontario do a little bit more in terms of helping people finance it, because I know they're
Yeah.
coming up with some numbers. I just don't think it's enough.
$80,000 the feds
Yeah.
just came in with, or something like that,
It's just, it's
for additional
not,
units.
yeah, it's like,
Cost twice that.
yeah, it's like when a bathroom costs, 15 to 20,
Yeah.
and a kitchen is running you around 50. It's like, and you're going to have to put in, either if you're looking at an SDU in your basement, egress windows or a second
Yeah.
entrance, like dropping down,
Fireproofing
yeah,
everything.
like dropping some stairs down and making an extra entrance. That's going to cost you like $50K or more,
Yeah.
depending. And so I just think that there needs to be a little bit more relief in terms of it really making a huge impact.
Yeah.
And I know that they're saying like, oh, it's probably going to take 3 years before all of these things are fully implemented and you see some changes. I think it might take a little bit longer before we see Ottawa shift, where you're going to have things like coach houses in the backyard. And
Yeah.
but it would be nice if they could speed it up and offer a little bit more, like interest-free, if people are actually doing that, willing to have someone else live and rent on their property.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's really good, because like from the home owner's perspective, like what you just touched on, like, yeah, it's really difficult to actually, yeah, it's great. Like, oh, okay, I can put, eventually it's gonna be 4 units at the
yeah.
Ontario level, but I think Ottawa is they're limiting it to 3 right now or whatever.
Yeah, right now.
So that's great. I can put all these units, but oh wait, it's going to cost me $250,000 to do that. I don't have that money because the
Yeah.
economy's down. So, but it will help, like you said, the density, where for tenants, there's more housing. Hopefully, it helps add quite a few, because we need so many more units to really see an effect.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, a lot of people are doing this, but I don't want to be pessimistic, and I don't think it's pessimistic. Again, I want to be realistic about
Yeah.
this, which is like, I agree. I think it's going to take a while, and I think more the issue is like people don't have money to even do that right now.
Yeah, if you're at your limit, if you wanted to get into your home and you're at your limit of financing, like, I don't know, I just don't know how it's going to be implemented. It'll be limited to some people being able to do it and others not.
Yeah.
So if the goal overall is to add the density and to help families afford more home. I
Yeah.
think that we're going to have to make a little bit more adjustments. Now I know like in 2025, we are going to see some bylaw changes and setback changes and height restrictions be eased a little bit, but I'm just not sure how long it's going to take and if it's going to be enough for what we actually need for right now.
Yeah, but it will benefit major on the more commercial side. So like we're talking a lot about the residential. Like on the commercial, like you have a lot of these streets have just gone overnight from like R2 to AM. So you're going to start seeing, we already are, like if you drive down or you're on the 417, you're going west or east, you're seeing all these cranes.
Yeah.
A lot of these buildings that are going up where they're going to provide, they're small, but apartments for prospective tenants and thus way more housing. That also takes time though. Like there's so much red tape on developments and like what you have to pass through. I know I'm literally going through it right now. We were pushed back 6 months. It's just based off of legislation. It's a crapshoot. And I think what the government needs to do, not to get completely off with this, but I think they really have to get out of the way of developments a little bit, make it a little bit, significantly easier for these development sites to be streamlined, to go up, to provide housing. It's like they're just bottlenecking the whole process by essentially saying, we're going to change zoning so it allows for it, but you have to do this, that. Like, it's just, okay, like it's just going to take as much time, and it's not happening fast enough at the commercial level. And it's not going to happen fast enough at the residential level, which you just touched on, because people don't necessarily have the money to convert their house. And there's not enough being done by the government in terms of grants to convert their house to a triplex overnight.
Which is within their power. And it's a little frustrating because I have an interesting perspective where my husband is a builder, like a framer, and he works with Mattamy, and so as he's speeding up, I see that, and as he's slowing down, I also see that. So where the premier is setting these huge goals and my husband's complaining that they're not able to build as fast as they are able to and would like to, it's like, I wonder what's really going on, what's really happening. Like we have set some lofty goals over the next 10 years to build an outrageous number.
Good
and
luck.
It's like, if the people building those homes are complaining they're not getting enough work, then are we going as fast? Where is the roadblock, right?
Yeah.
So
100%.
It'll be interesting to see. Okay, well, we won't take up too much time, but what are your thoughts on the Bill 97 coming to Ottawa, which is basically the renovictions, making it so that, tenants will be able to re-enter at the same rent if they're booted out, and what do you think?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Because if you have an actual issue, there's a lot of older buildings in Ottawa that need severe repairs. And if you need to do that, but you're leveraging like a HELOC at 7 or 8% or even private money to do it, and then you're allowing a tenant to come back that's been there for 25 years at $500 and the going rate is $2,500 for that same unit, you're now upside down and you're going to go bankrupt. So I don't really understand it from that point of view, but I do understand it from the point of view of tenants that essentially, they're getting kicked out of their house, but it's because it's a symptom. It's a symptom of, this isn't solving the actual problem, which is affordability of housing, and that there isn't enough housing. The symptom is people are like going to other ways to get these people out that are paying unbelievably below market rent, and it's not the tenant's fault. And if the landlord isn't playing by the rules, it is the landlord's fault. But like the system in the beginning is rigged, and it's not made for either party to be successful. So I'm love to see what's going to happen with this. I think really what's going to happen is landlords just is going to be stagnant movement. Landlords aren't going to actually repair these places, do the repairs that are needed, replacing wiring, plumbing, major flooring issues, structural issues, because they don't have the money if they can't increase the rent. Because a lot of the ways that these projects are financed is through refinance. Once you've increased the value by adding these additions, you're then going to a lender, refinancing, you pull that equity out to pay the debt that it took in order to get the house, fixed. Yeah. So I just don't, they're squeezing the tenants. The rent's already insane out there because there's no housing. They're squeezing the landlords as if it's the landlord's problem. we're just going after, again, the symptoms.
Yeah.
Let's try and actually fix the problem by streamlining production of homes and building some frickin' houses for people.
Yeah, I agree. I think there should be something implemented where it's a time frame where, like, if any given tenant is in a property at the 10-year mark, they know that the lease comes to an end so that proper maintenance can be done, because arguably around 10 and 12 years, you're going to need to paint floors and things are going to need some repair. Systems might be replaced.
Yeah.
And so the best thing to do might be limiting it to a time frame so that there's no kind of miscommunication on the landlord and tenants. Like, at the maximum time to stay in this property is a 10-year limit so that you can fix it up and then adjust the rent after that.
No, absolutely. I do really like that. An obvious issue is going to be what if the rent is immensely higher, which is going to be supply and demand. The only law that can't be broken by anyone is supply and demand. We just need to figure out the supply.
Yeah. Okay, how has the Ottawa real estate market evolved in the past few years, and what trends do you predict for the future?
Oh my God, this is enough for an entire separate podcast.
Entire podcast, I know.
2019, you could buy a townhouse for $400K. By 2022, that same townhouse was $900,000, 8 to 9. I saw some literally going in Riverside South Barrhaven for $900K. Now we are, our reality is overpriced loans, overpriced homes, yet not enough. So every angle is being squeezed, like we were just talking about with Bill 97. Like, again, it's just, if they don't fix the supply issue, my prediction is as the rates come down, which is, again, only going to solve one symptom of the rates being so high, prices are just going to go up again.
We're going to find ourselves in the hamster wheel.
Yeah, like, because people want to, if you can buy a house, it's your house, and it costs you $2,300 a month for a mortgage, or you can get that same house, rent it from someone down the street for $2,800. What are you going to do? You're going to go and buy that house. So as the mortgage rates come down, people, and they can actually afford to buy the house, they're going to go to it, flocks everyone. There's not enough supply. You now have, multiple offers again, and prices jump up again.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen.
I know. I had clients and they lived in Switzerland, and they were saying, now I cannot verify this, but this is just what they shared with me, was that when it comes to the assessment of home values, it's done in the government. And that's how they control home prices, so that it never gets so inflated based on with the interest rates and stuff. And I was like, that is clever.
Wow. That's something I want to read.
I know.
About
I
that.
have
what
to
a socialist approach. That's incredible.
I have to verify it, but it's like, that is smart, because that way it's not the homeowner, it's not the real estate professional. They advise through the transaction and still help step by step, but the appraisal, the home price of what they say this property is worth, comes straight from the government. Whereas here we see what MPAC is saying this is assessed at. It has no bearing on what the market is.
The problem, though, there too, though, would be again supply and demand. If like, who are you going to give it to if you've got 10
people that can afford it all?
Yeah, and who are you going to give it to? And then there's backdoor deals happening. Like, I don't know. It's always going to find, like, again, like, the only law that cannot be broken is supply and demand.
Yeah.
So I maybe they have their supply figured out, though. Right?
Yeah, maybe they do.
We certainly do not.
What specific factors like immigration, government policies, or infrastructure development do you think have had the most significant impact on the recent changes?
Ooh, okay.
It's probably all of the above.
Yeah, well, so the rules that you just touched on, we just touched on before, Bill 23 and 97, immigration was massive.
Yeah.
They just closed the door on that almost completely. I mean, not completely, but that was huge, because you have these people that need housing. Mm-hmm. So that really increased the rental the sale market, the all of these are massive.
I know. I heard the wait list in Toronto for subsidized housing is 12 years.
Yeah.
12 years? You're on a wait list.
Yeah.
Okay, 12 years from now. How is that helping people now?
It's not. You're done.
Yeah.
12 years, I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Yeah, I know, like a wait list that long is just disheartening especially with seniors or people on disability on very fixed incomes that absolutely have no access to making more money.
Absolutely. One thing, okay, so you have infrastructure development here. One thing is the 15-minute villages. Mm-hmm. That plan, I guess like the zoning changes, the zoning bylaw changes. The city planning is it's massive where they're going with all of this.
Yeah.
The 15-minute villages are essentially, you'll be able to walk 15 minutes from your home in every direction to get all of your necessities, like your food, your gym, your whatever.
We both live in areas like that.
Yeah. So I think that's really smart for hopefully cutting carbon emissions. Like here in Ottawa, they've built the... have they built it yet? Is it built? Is it complete? Is it done yet? The light rail?
I get mixed messages daily on that.
Yeah. Is it working today?
Yeah.
Right as we talk about this, it might not be working,
Yeah.
but
Our transit fee's going up. Is it official?
yeah. So yeah, I think they are really trying to intensify the density. And so things are more affordable for people. Units, of course, then get smaller because of cost per square foot. But all of those things are just massive
The
change.
plan is good. We have to see the implementation of the plan if it's actually going to go somewhere. I think Ottawa could make some huge leaps and bounds over the next 3 to 5 years. That's what I'm hoping and praying for. Let's see. Okay, how do you see the role of real estate teams evolving over the next decade, and what changes are you preparing for?
The role of real estate teams evolving over the next...
I think we're going to see more and more teams. I think the team model works for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. For me, I'm a parent. It works for me. If I need to call on someone else, toss them a little bit of money, I know it was working for, Shelley and... other agents have asked me to step in for them, whether it's a home inspection. So for our lifestyle, it really does work.
So I think there's been less transactions. I mean, I know there's been way less transactions than in previous years. So a lot of people they have to get a second job as realtors. A lot of agents. Most of our team is pretty much full time. But there's going to be people that they will not, if they're doing it part-time, they will not be able to do it as a solo gig. And there's going to be a lot of teams that won't take on part-time agents at all. But I think you're going to see, like you just said, there's going to be a lot more teams that roll out for people that just need full-on support. They don't know where to get their own business. Business is more scarce than it was. But it shifts so quickly.
It's true.
It's gonna change a couple of times over the next 5 years to where at certain times everyone wants a team right now, but then at a certain point when business starts to get good, everyone wants to go solo, and
that's true.
So we'll just see. It's really going to be reliant on where the whole economy goes, where the housing market goes. Can the Canadian government somehow fix our freaking everything, housing, everything, economy. Yeah. So we're the amount of teams, the success of teams is reliant on so many economic plays that it's we don't have a crystal ball, but there's then always the people like you and I that actually enjoy being a part of something and belonging to something. And I think more and more people want that coming out of the pandemic too. It's I think the community aspect of it is severely beneficial because there's just stuff coming at us so quickly now. just generally, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really isolating time. Like, I mean, I was home with my family and stuff, but once everyone could get back together and get into theaters and
Yeah.
movies, it was so interesting where it was like, wow, we were really
Yeah, you're like
just
watching.
2 years.
Doesn't have a
Like,
mask on.
yeah. See if he coughs.
Yeah.
Oh God, I had a lady coughing on my head during
Oh,
my daughter's dance
no.
show. I was
my
just like,
God.
yeah, I
heard
get
that.
it. We don't have to wear masks anymore.
Get
But
out of here, lady.
every act you're ruining.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What advice do you have for someone just starting their career? We talked a lot
Yeah.
about team leads. We've given you guys all the answers. If you're thinking about starting your own team, but what about just simple old plain old realtor that's just got their license and they're starting today?
So they have no sphere at all. Like there's no.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay,
We
so
don't know, but a new agent, brand spanking.
okay, so like I'm biased because one, I run a team, and then two, I was on teams. But I'm going to say like join a team and make sure that team, what they are saying they're going to offer, they're actually going to offer. So go interview 3 to 5, you know, and just make it quite clear from the beginning. Like I'm interviewing multiple, and see what best fits for. They're all going to have business. Well, hopefully, they're all going to have systems. They're all going to have all sorts of things. But see who suits your personality the best, and where you get those good vibes. So
Yeah. And you want to know what? I'm going to add something.
Okay.
Don't be afraid that if you pick a brokerage and you realize it's not a fit for you, to move on. Like nobody there is going to cry themselves to sleep.
It's not the end of the world.
If you decide to move on and part ways. It feels like that. It feels like it's such like a dire decision, but like the best decisions that I've made is like when you move on to the next chapter. So I would say
You have something to tell me?
yeah, no, not at all. But when I was considering joining your team, I felt so much guilt and pressure that I wanted to move on from where I was.
Yeah.
And the time before that, like,
Same
you know,
for me with Keller Williams.
You just feel this guilt because it's like, it's not you, it's me. I've evolved, I've changed, I want different things, and this place looks like the place that I can go to get that. So don't make it such an emotional decision because it's not personal, it really is business.
Beautiful. Yeah. In reality, like agents do change brokerages and maybe even teams several times within their career, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You're just trying to find yourself in a place where you feel like you belong.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and what would you tell yourself if you could go back in time? If you could go back to when you first got your license, what would you share about where you are now?
Just relax.
Yeah.
Just relax, Julian. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
This is not the end of the world. Seriously, though, like I'm a very survival style mentality and approach to everything. Only now am I even just like touching on learning stoicism somewhat. There's a lot of different ways to do things, and you don't have to be perfect, and you're not going to be perfect. This is an incredibly difficult job. I don't care what anyone says, because you're juggling so many different things like you've never had to in your life, and arguably never will have to before. Or again, sorry. So I would say, just like take it easy. Just take it easy. You'll figure it out. Just keep working, because the more that you are worrying, I worry about things going wrong, you're taking that energy from opportunities that could just fall in your lap, or the next opportunity around so just chill, know that it's going to be okay. Just keep going, persevere.
Yeah. We didn't talk about this, but this is huge on your team, is mindset is everything.
Yeah. So mindset wise, like, I don't know why I have this, like, I don't want to say the word mindset. Maybe it's from every conference I've been to. They're always mindset.
Yeah.
Mindset is everything. But it is so true. And that's why everyone talks about it. It's like, and we put a lot into that. And we constantly, like, I have to constantly remind myself, like, yo, man, like, is this really worth crying over right now? Like sometimes literally, or like, and if I'm constantly worrying about every little thing or judging myself, like, how do I come across to you guys or like to our clients?
Right.
And just going with the flow.
Yeah. I think during these stressful transactions too, once you've already established the trust with your clients and that you're a competent agent, being the person
Yeah.
that lightens the room for them, lightens the mood,
Yeah.
it's like everything because it's very stressful. When their children have grown up in this house, or that person has grown up in this house, or their mother and father retired into this home, like there's so many reasons people
Yeah.
sell the home. It can
Yeah.
be extremely stressful, or a uncomfortable transition, whether it's a separation, a death of a family member. And so like for us to be the ones to just tell them it's going to be okay too, it's like, it's everything.
Yeah, it's the largest asset investment that they'll probably ever be involved in. So yeah, it's incredibly overwhelming. Even first-time home buyers to exactly people that are dealing with loss or
Yep.
separation. Like it's massive. Yeah.
Yeah. Downsizing can be a thing. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it can be intense when you're leaving
Yeah.
your family's home, but you know you're ready for that condominium, that lifestyle shift and
Yeah.
stuff. So just
You're doing it for a reason.
Yeah, I like to reassure them of that. Like, it's a transition. These feelings are going to come up. They're normal. I'm here to support you.
Yeah. You really take like your clients' like baggage and like emotions and you like carry it with you and you carry their burden. Like I've noticed that like you're very supportive at like not just helping them like make the right financial decision or the right investment decision, but like the right just like what fits for them and what's the right vibe and like what's going to be the best option for them in their future. And like you're really
Yeah.
good at like taking that on. I've noticed that something about you. You're very strong. And I don't think everyone is. And I think to be successful like you have been, like I think you have to really have that, be able to take on people's stuff,
Yeah.
because there's going to be a lot of it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing that I'm working on, it's still a big work in process, is then acknowledging that and then decompressing and making sure that I release some of the energy that I take on through the day.
Right.
Because like you said, sometimes those separations can get tense,
Right.
or someone's grieving and you're giving a lot of energy and we give it willingly to help, but then we also have to acknowledge that, we need to also take that time and decompress and recharge the battery.
It's hard. It's hard to
Yeah.
remember we're not just there for the clients,
Yeah.
even
You love the gym.
yeah. Thank God.
So yeah, thank God. I like
The bottle. No.
snacks. Not quite the bottle,
No,
but
no.
snacks.
Yeah.
So finding another outlet, like taking my dog for a walk, taking my kids to the park,
Yeah.
and like really being childlike and jovial and just
I heard it was
squeezing
Mariah's
it.
birthday.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, like-
Leah missed it.
I know, poor Leah, but that's okay. I had a feeling. It was a busy weekend, like for families. It
adorable.
just seemed like everyone was doing a gazillion
Yeah.
things, and so
I'm still waiting on my invite.
I know you wanted to come to the trampoline park and let it rip. No, but
Sure,
she
it's in the
was
mail.
I
Canada
know,
Post.
She was it was. She was so joyous. She was so excited
adorable.
for to get up on stage and dance, and then to have her party. And I just was like, yes, this is what it's all about. Seriously, no
So
showings on Sunday. Okay. Would you do anything differently, Julian?
No. I've learned some tough lessons and I'm still learning them. But I needed to.
It's a journey.
It's a journey. Yeah.
I feel like as agents in our industry, it's like a transactional thing. So you feel like, you're getting the reward when you see your clients in that house and you get your commission check after and it all comes full circle. That you can sometimes forget it's the journey, it's the steps, it's when
Yeah.
you're in the thick of it and those those trying times, whether it's the job or personal, that it's the journey. It doesn't end until it ends. So learning to just sit in that sometimes is
Yeah, and just accepting it. You can't change it. Just take what you can from it.
Yeah.
You're gonna get emotional. Try not to react to the emotion
Yeah.
as much. That's the one thing. I wouldn't change it. It's just I've noticed about myself, reacting to my emotions. The problem isn't the emotions.
yeah.
It's never what you're feeling inside to yourself that no one can see. It's your reaction. to
Yeah,
those
the
emotions.
reaction.
So,
Yeah, I agree. Okay, what would you say has been your biggest contribution to the industry, and how do you see your role influencing future of real estate?
So, I mean, I gotta stay humble here because, like, we're new, not to make excuses. Like, we're relatively new at this. And so, um, to the industry, I think, like, you need to have a really big threshold. Like, you gotta have a really big presence. We're getting there, you know? We're growing and we're trying our very best and we're doing business. I would say, really, I think to go back to the beginning of this is more like comes in my approach and our approach as a group and Steph's approach and your approach of like warmth, compassion, here's a hug, like actual. I think that's where we've helped our agents and our clients and thus our community all related to real estate
Yeah.
through just like being genuine and being emotionally available. And
Yeah.
I think that that's not always the approach that a lot of realtors take.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. How does the team give back to the community? We're doing shameless plug right now. What do we do?
So we wanted to have done it more this year. We did do the food, the actual
Food
the
drive.
yeah, the food drive, but also like the food sorting. We went to the food bank. Like this
Food
is
sorting was fun.
yeah, it was really fun. So we're gonna do that again.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. We're gonna do this probably like as a quarterly event if you're down. Someone also mentioned going to the Humane Society. That'd be super fun
Oh, yeah.
with the puppers.
And cats. Don't forget about the cats.
Oh, and you had mentioned before, and we blew it because
We couldn't link it all up.
yeah. But that's something that we're booking it out now. Like Steph and I've been talking about this a lot.
Yeah.
Quarterly, going to the food bank
Yeah.
and going down to Shepherd's of Good Hope and actually cooking.
Have the new dates.
Yeah, actually cooking and like helping. And I think as opposed to just giving like a big fat check to some
Yeah.
organization and you get
Yeah.
a tax credit. Yay. Like I'm not saying that, I'm not really talking negatively about that because that's wonderful. People are still helping in that
Yeah,
way.
of course.
I think if we actually give our time and our
Yeah.
energy
Yeah.
and get into these groups. So I want to do more
They
of that.
need it, right?
People need help right
Yeah.
now. Like everyone does. You know, that's more what I think is really needed. That's where we're going to go with that, to give back.
Yeah. Okay, looking back over the past few years, what's been a highlight?
What's been a highlight? So every year our numbers grow. Like we have surpassed our goals as a team. Like now it's been a couple of years. Yeah, no, for sure. And we have really big, like high hopes and goals coming up. But yeah, just like getting smarter. Like we're just so. I know that that's a really vague, but like just things are getting better. Like it's sometimes, you know, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So it's hard to see.
Yeah.
But like, I love this time of year because I can look back at a year snapshot. And I've been doing that this last week, and I'm like, man, like
Yeah.
we're still here.
Yep.
You know, through like this has been the last couple of years has been insane. We decided to start a team in the lowest sales in 14 years across Canada, 2023.
Yeah.
Like this year wasn't much better, or probably wasn't better. I don't even know. We'll know soon.
Yeah.
Numbers are coming out soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, but we are as a team getting better and smarter and like communally like growing closer together, and just like the agents individually, like including you for sure, have gotten better. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
What about most interesting thing that's happened since you started real estate?
Oh man. The most interesting thing since I started real estate, just again vague, but like I'm just a completely different person. Like I can't even fathom like myself.
Personal changes.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how much I've changed for the better as just being more like real with myself. Like getting into it thinking like I'm going to sell the most and I'm here to sell the most, to like I want to be a good person.
I want to be a mentor to other people.
Yeah.
And
I want to help people achieve their goals as well. You know,
that is a huge shift though. And I think that that's something that comes naturally if you're that type of person. Like I think in the beginning you do have to want to say your personal goals.
Yeah.
And then you get
Nothing wrong
to
with
a
that.
point where you've achieved some of those goals and it's like, now where do I shift?
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody gets there. So I think that's commendable, you know, that you wanted to make a shift and then turn it outward for others.
Yeah, I think just it naturally happened because you're like, you realize transactions are repetitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need them to pay your bills. But it's also like, hey, like, what are we getting out of it? What's so great about this? It's like the good vibes, the good feelings that you get out of it
Yeah.
from helping clients and helping your agents and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Okay. So what's one thing about your life now that younger you would never have expected? Wait, let me say that question again because I fubbed up.
Yeah.
What's one thing about your life now that younger you would never have expected?
That I wasn't so heavily focused on the money anymore. That there's new layers to the onion. Everything was a monetary goal when I first started. Now it's more like, what's the point? Yeah, what's the purpose? Where are we going? And realizing like, man, this is deep, but like realizing like this recently, the last couple of years, I've realized life is short, and it's like, yeah, no one's gonna remember. Oh, you did 50 deals back in 2021, like 40 years from, like no one cares, and I just never even had that perspective. You hear it one ear and out the other. Now I'm
Yeah.
like, I get it
Yeah.
a little bit. I'm getting there. Yeah, I've gotten there. I
Wait
think.
till the kids come.
Yeah, that's all part of that, exactly.
Okay, that's it. That's
Amazing.
the show.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. We got to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Julian,
much for having me.
sharing.
This was
Yeah.
like awesome. Probably the
Yeah.
best one that I've been a part of, actually is. And like, I can't believe what time it is.
Probably.
And it definitely is. And we're going to do this again if you don't mind. 'Cause-
Oh, no, absolutely. I feel
Yeah.
like after we get into the Q1 goals, we can come back and
Okay.
revisit some of the things, how the year actually ended in terms of numbers in Ottawa and for
Okay.
the team, and what we've set into 2025.
Awesome.
You're down for that?
I'll be here.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.